Welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining us. See people popping in. So we'll give everyone just a few minutes to get into the webinar, get situated as we get going. Yay, great. See lots of friends joining us. I'm Shannon. We're going to be talking today about summer reading, how to choose an effective summer reading program. And we'll kind of talk through some things here. As we're coming in and getting started, take a minute to think about this question. What's the most important thing you look for in a summer camp? So if you're choosing a summer camp, what are the top 3 things you'd look for? Or maybe just your very top thing. Share it with us in the chat. If you're coming in just now, welcome, welcome. We'd love to know, what are the most important things that you look for in a summer camp? Okay. Love it. Well, we're going to talk through some things that might be on your list. A lake, for sure. If I'm going to camp, it's got to have a body of water. Helping with an expedited schedule. Oh my gosh, yes, that truncated timeline in summer is always something that's top of mind when we're thinking about summer learning. Okay, if you're just coming in, we're talking about what's the most important thing you look for in a summer camp. Share with us in the chat. We'd love to know your thoughts. We've got a few fun ones in there. Okay, keep thinking about that question. That's going to kind of be one of our guiding questions today. And let's go ahead and jump in. So my name is Shannon Bowles. I am an educator and partnership consultant with Reading Horizons, and I am excited to facilitate our discussion today with Christine Carnes. Christine, can you introduce yourself and share a little bit about your summer reading camp context with us?
Yep. My name is Christine Carnes. I'm the Elementary ELA coordinator here in Sumter School District in South Carolina. We have a state mandated summer reading camp every summer for 4 weeks, technically 16 days. And we target our striving third graders in that camp.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. We appreciate you being here and kind of adding some of this additional context and experience to what we're discussing. And when we were planning this summer learning webinar, we decided to invite Christine to join us because Sumter had such a great summer implementation. They had a lot of success there. And so she, in our conversations, helped us to kind of identify some variables that made that implementation successful for teachers and students at Sumter. And so she's going to help us talk through those today. So shifting our focus just a little bit, but coming back to the question that we were considering as we first started the webinar, what if you were choosing a program for a summer reading camp specifically for your struggling or striving readers? Then what are we looking for? That might change our answer a little bit. And that's why we're here today. We're going to identify those critical factors for a fun and successful summer. So let's look at those now. After speaking with and working with many districts, including Sumter, who are looking to provide targeted literacy instruction during the summer, and talking to Christine about Sumter's success, there were kind of these 3 essential components that emerged from those conversations. The first one was structured, scripted lessons that are easy for teachers to pick up and use, and that make it simple to provide explicit, systematic, and effective literacy instruction. The second essential was real-time data tracking that allows teachers to make daily, quick instructional decisions to maximize student learning. And that third essential was training and ongoing support for both teachers and administrators. And so today we're going to explore these 3 program essentials and why they are so important, such important factors in student summer learning. Starting with structured scripted lessons. So we're going to kind of open this up and kind of have a conversation with Christine here. We'd love to hear why having structured scripted lessons was so important to your success, Christine.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, that our summer camp is 4 weeks. It's technically 16 days because we go 4 days a week. So I knew that we needed to maximize every instructional minute that we had. And we also have sites across the district. So I wanted something that was consistent. And what we found was having that structured, scripted approach. It really ensured that the teachers could deliver high quality research-based lessons without excessive planning time. They were not having to take their afternoons to plan these lessons. They were ready to go. And more importantly, the scripted feature of it, it really provided teachers with that step-by-step guidance. So there was really no questions of, what do I do next? Which ultimately reduced their uncertainty with implementing it, and then increased our instructional effectiveness because there was no question about like I said, what was coming next. So those were some of the things that really sold us and that we saw working throughout the summer to help the
Awesome.
teachers.
Yeah, yeah, really supported those teachers. That's great. I'm curious too. I mean, generally speaking, it's effective for students to have alignment in all of their classes of that common language, and when everybody's teaching things in the same way, I think that that's helpful too for some of those learners.
Yes, and students really feed off of that structure too. So they knew what was coming next. And so it built their confidence in such a short amount of time as well.
Right. Yeah, consistent routines and practices.
Exactly.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. That's great. So I wanted to kind of talk about what that might look like. So when you're looking at programs for your summer camp and you want to ensure that lessons kind of follow that consistent structure, that consistency, like we mentioned, allows for teachers and students to really quickly establish classroom routines and procedures. Everyone knows what to expect in a lesson, makes planning simpler for teachers. So in this example of a lesson structure I'm going to share with you, there are 4 parts to each lesson, and it follows a gradual release of responsibility instructional design. So part 1, an oral phonemic awareness warm up, moving into part 2, phonics and spelling instruction with kind of some set things that are happening in there, a review of a prerequisite skill, instruction of new skills, guided dictation for practicing those skills with feedback, and then a whole class transfer piece where students are starting to apply that skill, but kind of in the more supportive environment of you do it, but we're going to do it together. Some choral reading with skill word level, connected text level, quick assessments that can inform additional differentiated practice in an extended transfer piece. So something that has this consistent lesson structure, you're going to want to look for in your summer learning program. Just to kind of break this up and show you what it might look like for teachers, that oral phonemic awareness warm up, this is kind of a snapshot of what a structured scripted lesson would look like. It gives the teachers exactly the concise, explicit language that they need to use. To go through that, it provides them the words and the expected responses from students. In the phonics and spelling portion, it's going to walk the instructor through those different parts of reviewing, instructing the new skill. It's going to give them everything super clear and easy for them to walk through. And this really does empower teachers to feel like they are the experts at teaching reading, even if that's not necessarily their focus or their background. So I love that regardless of teacher experience, something like this really helps them to be successful with it. That guided practice with dictation piece, this is a really great instructional practice that allows our students to connect what they hear with what they say, and then they write and read and make all those connections in the brain that are necessary for fluent reading. Our brains are not wired to read, so we have to help students build those neural networks. And this process of dictation is a really good way to do that. And then wrapping up that initial lesson with whole group transfer kind of ties that nice bow on it and makes sure that we're moving that skill out of isolation and into context at the word, sentence, and connected text level. And again, you can see how something that's scripted and structured like this is going to walk you right through instructional best practices for applying what you might have learned in letters training or science of reading experience in the classroom. So it's going to take students through a choral read of a passage. They're going to get a modeled read for fluency and prosody, and then they're going to take turns partner reading. So you can see that gradual release happening as well throughout. At this point, we may collect some data, even if it's just observational, to see how well students are doing during a lesson, to then move into some additional differentiated practice or extended transfer, where teachers can really hone in and fill the gaps, which is so important during a shortened timeline in summer to be able to be specific about what we're doing. So I wanted to just give you that visual of what a structured, scripted lesson would look like. And hopefully that's something that you're seeing in the programs that you're exploring for your summer programs. Anything else, Christine, that popped up or came to mind as we were walking through that for you or your teachers?
Well, I will say some of the teachers, they did note that the lessons, they liked how the lessons really did, even though it's scripted, the teacher really is the facilitator guiding the students in the engagement. So, sometimes
Yes.
scripted lessons might get, teachers might think, oh, I don't want somebody to tell me what to say, but just the ease of use. And then once they realize I'm facilitating the engagement of my students. So they really enjoyed that part of the lessons.
Yes, absolutely. And I love that you called that out too, because sometimes that can feel like maybe especially more experienced teachers, they kind of have the way that they like to do it. So the scripting doesn't necessarily need to hold them back from putting their art, their art of teaching into the lesson.
Yeah. And
Love
having the
it.
word list and the examples already ready to go, like I said, that's less planning on their end. So saves a lot of time.
Yeah, just streamlining that,
Mhm.
taking that lift off teachers. That's great. All right, thank you. We appreciate that. Let's go to our second essential. So the next thing that we kind of talked through that was really effective for the summer implementation was real-time data tracking. So Christine, kind of share with us your experience with how having some of that real-time data tracking impacted your summer camp implementation.
So the biggest impact was that teachers were able to do a lesson in the morning, analyze that skill check, the results from that skill check, quickly identify the students who needed additional help. And within the next hour or after lunch, they were doing small groups and one-on-one based off of the morning. So it was really important for us to not just have a way to track data, but that real time and also data that was actionable. I can look at that and make an immediate plan, which was very helpful in the summer because, they didn't have to wait until the next day to address a student's need. They were able to address it in that moment with the materials and resources that were provided for the small groups, differentiation, and all that. So that really did make a difference in our program.
Yeah. Yeah, using that data right then in the moment is so crucial because like you said, 16 days, and most summer programs I've worked with are the same, some shorter, some maybe a few days longer. But typically we just don't have a lot of time. And even within those days, we may have more hours to focus. Like, remind me how long your teachers had
So it's pretty
during their
much a
day.
full school day. It's 8 to 3, 4 days a week. So it's a full day. But like I said, it also was helpful because they could do a lesson in the morning, rework the rest of their day to really pinpoint what the students needed in that moment.
Right, adjust those plans
Mm.
based on something
Yeah,
tangible and real actionable data.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Love it. That's awesome. Well, let me take a minute and show you kind of what this might look like. I showed you that outline of the lesson structure, and there was a little red arrow between parts 3 and 4, that initial transfer and differentiated transfer, that said skill check. At Reading Horizons, that's what we call it. It's essentially just a quick assessment, 5 questions that falls right after that primary lesson delivery. And what is great about it is it gives you that immediate insight. Like Christine mentioned, this is what teachers were seeing in their digital platform, that assessment data come in real time, and that combined with their observational data that they could record there allowed them to make decisions about how to adjust and differentiate for the afternoon, for small groups, for one-on-one, to make sure those students were getting that targeted instruction that they really need in summer. That data also needs to be accessible. So yes, we need to be gathering data, throughout our programs when we can gather it, on a consistent basis and utilize it right away. That's going to help us a lot, but it doesn't help us if we can't see it and if we can't look at it and figure out what it means and what to do with it. And so that's where some of these reports come in. Whenever you're looking at a program, you want to kind of also find out, okay, how do I look at this data? That's great that there's assessments. Every program is going to have some assessments for you to use. How are you looking at that data and how are you able to easily interpret that to utilize it with students? So this is some of the visuals of what you would be able to see, analyzing individual items on that skill check to see what types of mistakes were being made, get some error analysis to then hone in on whatever each student needs most. So this feature is really what is going to contribute to teachers being able to pinpoint what each student needs, more effective, more targeted instruction for those students. Was there anything about the skill check or the data reports, Christine, that emerged with your teachers that they commented about?
Well, I was just thinking as you were talking, the other thing is with summer school, uh, these teachers don't really know the kids because some of them don't even work in that school. So you might have some general data on the students, but this really was allow teachers to pinpoint specific foundational skills that a third grader may have missed and be able to go immediately in and fill in those blanks. But a lot of them really talked about how easy it was to use this data to really use those targeted small group and one-on-one, and that made the biggest difference in their instruction on a daily basis.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. So whoever's teaching summer school isn't always the same teachers that these
Yeah, it's
students
not
are
really
with.
their teacher. Yeah.
Yeah, great point. So getting to know a little bit of background, but then having something in the moment that they can use to pinpoint for students. I love that. It's a great thing to call out. All right. Well, let's go ahead and talk about our third essential, training and ongoing support. So we know that when we're rolling out a program, we need to make sure that our teachers and our administrators all understand it and how to use it. So what were some of the most effective components of training and support that helped you and your team kind of find success implementing your summer program, Christine?
Well, the quick answer is all of them.
As much
So
support as we can get, right?
yes, yes. So as you said, we really needed teachers to be confident and prepared from day one of this program because it was so fast paced. So from the beginning, the initial training, our facilitator ensured that there were no questions left on the table. Everyone understood the program structure, the instructional methods. I think the hands-on practice, giving the teachers time to practice teaching with each other in that training was a game changer, because they didn't have to go off and try it. They tried it right there, kind of worked through some kinks. That was great. The embedded real-time coaching videos, we got lots of great feedback on that because it addresses some of those common teaching challenges, which then reduce the frustration for the teacher and then, of course, increases the effectiveness. But I think one of our favorites was the job embedded coaching, having someone from Reading Horizons come and actually come in the classrooms and not just watch the teachers, but hop in and teach with them and model with them. It was very empowering for our teachers to not only see someone else do it, but also be able to see someone else do it and say, okay, I'm on the right track. I can keep moving forward without any hesitation. So those three components of the training and ongoing support really did make a difference in the implementation throughout the summer and the teacher confidence.
Right, right. Teacher empowerment. We don't
Yeah.
get good implementation if we don't have teachers that feel comfortable and confident using the program. Absolutely.
Yes, a well-supported teacher is an effective teacher, so.
Yes, that's the sound bite, Christine. Well,
Yeah, there you go.
somebody embroider that on a pillow. I love it. Okay. That's great. So we're going to highlight a few of those things Christine just talked about that were most effective for their implementation. So when we're implementing, a new program, it can be a challenge, but you want to look for a program that's really going to partner with you for your success. And no matter what program you use, initial professional learning sessions should go beyond just unboxing materials. It really should be interactive and hands-on and focused on building teacher confidence. And I love that you mentioned that, Christine, that your teachers appreciated having an opportunity to start practicing implementation in the training rather than, getting all this information and then having to go start figuring it out on their own. I think that makes a lot of strides toward building that confidence and empowering the teachers. The other thing you mentioned was that job embedded support. Um, Professional learning that's job embedded allows your instructors to really get targeted on the ground support within their classroom context. So it's not generic, it's looking at what they're doing in their classroom with their students. So that job embedded coaching is a big piece. And research shows that professional learning is most effective when it is ongoing throughout an implementation. And so having access to those asynchronous video modules and those real-time coaching videos supports that ongoing nature and specific professional learning that's easy to access and giving teachers what they need when they need it. And I'll show you a little bit about what that looks like with Reading Horizons. Initial professional learning is, of course, going to be hands-on. Christine talked about some of the things that happen during that initial training. Embedded coaching support. This is what Christine referenced here with those real-time coaching videos. These are embedded on the lesson overview or summary page of every lesson. So every lesson provides teachers with a short 3 to 5 minute video that provides adult level explanations of the skill that's being taught, as well as information about common student misconceptions or mistakes that students often make with this skill and how to correct them. And this is a really invaluable resource to, again, kind of support every teacher to become a literacy teaching expert. They're going to know exactly how to teach these skills. And if they're coming away from training, because our brains can only hold so much. So in a full day training, we're going to maybe retain 60% of what we hear in that training. This makes sure that teachers still have what they need when they need it as they're getting ready to teach each lesson. The other asynchronous video option that is offered is this implementation essentials videos. And this is available in, again, small chunks, 5 to 10 minute videos that allow teachers to access this whenever they need it, but it applies to all aspects of the program rather than being specific to each lesson. So between both of those options for asynchronous training, we're going to really see a lot of good practices coming out of that because these videos are going to support not just the skills themselves, but the program method, as well as just instructional best practices like pacing, procedures, student monitoring, things like that, that teachers, may feel like they need a little bit of support with or aren't sure how to do. So I love this. And it sounds like your teachers appreciated having that ongoing embedded support as well. Yeah. Okay, the last thing I want to call out is just really finding yourself a program that's not going to deliver materials and then disappear. At Reading Horizons, we really pride ourselves on offering unparalleled customer support. We really show up as an invested partner with the districts and schools that we work with by connecting you with a dedicated partnership consultant, and they will meet with you to identify your literacy goals, talk about the initiatives, what you're trying to accomplish. And then they will help you plan your implementation rollout, schedule your professional learning sessions, and set you and your team up for success. And then throughout your summer implementation, you can meet with that partnership consultant to review data, answer questions, evaluate how it's going and what might still be needed, and customize support for your site. And then based on some of those collaborative conversations, we also want to be looking ahead at what comes after the summer. How are we moving this student learning into the fall? What's happening there? What can we take with us? What needs to be adjusted? Kind of looking big picture at your literacy initiatives and goals beyond that summer implementation. So lots of things that we can look for in our programs to support. If you're using a program that you feel like is not offering you adequate support, then we'd love to talk to you about that. So Christine, anything else that you would add, reflecting on kind of all of the essential training and support that's available, or anything that else that stood out to you and your teachers you'd like to add here?
I would just say, just everything that you just mentioned, but just the availability. Like I never felt like I was left hanging or waiting. Very responsive and just giving us, like you said, the planning for training, like what usually works best, just to kind of help us make our plans, and then looking beyond summer, what that might look like, was also very helpful too, because we were in the midst of new standards, new state curriculum, and letters training, and how is all this going to go together? So we had great support with our partnership in making plans for beyond the summer as well.
Yeah, that's great. And you're right. Every school and district is dealing with all these different things that are coming together, new legislation, new requirements, new programming, whatever it might be. And so having somebody there who can really partner with you and talk through all of those components that are affecting your
Yes.
literacy outcomes for students is great. Okay,
And
thanks, Christine.
you're
Go ahead.
welcome. Yeah. No, I was just gonna say, and the people we work with, they truly understand literacy and science of reading. So, we had the same understanding of what needed to happen. So that was nice as well.
Right. On the same page. We're all looking
Yes,
at the same roadmap. I love it.
exactly.
All right. Well, let's kind of just wrap up here by kind of letting Christine share her outcomes.
Yes. So we have, as I mentioned, a 4-week camp. So out of all of the students who completed all 4 weeks and we're required to give an end of the session assessment. And out of all the students who were there the whole time and took it, we had 70% who increased their score from their end of year spring test to their end of summer camp test. And in my time of working with summer reading camp, we have never had gains quite that high. So I attribute that as a direct result of the teachers using that real-time data to inform their instruction, coupled with that consistent, high quality, effective instruction that they were getting from those lessons.
Yeah, that is amazing. I mean, that's always what, we all want to hear. The whole idea of putting all this effort into our summer learning
Yeah.
programming, we want to see those outcomes. We want to see those students make gains. So that's so exciting to hear.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Christine, for this conversation. Just to recap, we talked about these three essentials that you can be looking for in your summer reading program: structured scripted lessons, real-time data tracking, and training and ongoing support. As we wrap up the webinar today, we want to thank you for being here. Thank you for your time. If you're here live, there is a poll popping up on your screen. If you could please take a moment to answer that poll question, we would really appreciate that. And if you're watching the recording and you want to get in touch with someone from Reading Horizons to talk more about your summer learning plan, go ahead and email us at info@readinghorizons.com. And if you're here live as well, I believe our website link is in the chat, so you can access that as well. So I give just a minute to answer that poll question. Oh, great. Thank you, Alicia. She just dropped the link to the website in the chat. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Thank you again, Christine, for your time and
Thank
effort and
you.
sharing your experience.
Thank you for
We
having
appreciate
me.
it. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.